Welcome to Dodgers Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, today we have one of the tallest guests that I've ever brought in to Dodgers Daily. 6'6", maybe 6'7", maybe even taller than that. Eriq Swan joins Dodgers Daily for the first time. Eriq, I'm so excited to get to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. Excited to talk to you.
Okay, man, just talked to one of your pitching coaches about a week ago, Sean Coyne, and he said you have a generational type arm talent, man. That's pretty impressive. Talk about Sean Coyne, Ramon Troncoso, in this past season for you.
Coyne and Trunky, they were, I think for my first year being in professional baseball, they were the best guys that could have been around. Coyne and Trunky every week, almost every day, helping me with something, helping me trying to figure out what I can do next or what I can do to get an edge on somebody. And especially with Trunky, you know, he played, so talking to him and just seeing how he had to handle himself and what it really takes to get to that next level was huge.
So the Fall Stars game, you just got through pitching 2 innings, and that game, 2 innings scoreless. That had to be a really cool experience. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It was unexpected. I thought everybody was throwing 1 inning, and they told me I needed to go out for a second one, so just tried to make it fun.
What was the fastest velo that you've registered so far, and what are your consistent velo numbers?
In professional baseball, this year I hit 101. In college, I hit 102 and 103.
Oh, wow.
And then this past year, I think I sat probably 96, 99 every outing.
Wow, you sat 96 to 99.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that no wonder Sean is so high on your arm talent, because that's pretty incredible. So another thing about that too is, like, you had Patrick Copen for a while, who was a starter. You had Gardo Henriquez, who hit 104. You had Ronaldo Yin, you had one power arm after another. So did you guys feed off of each other?
Yeah, we had a little competition going between all the pitchers to see who was the velo king each week, and obviously Yin was the velo king always, but it was a fun competition between all of us.
The way I understand it, you really didn't pitch a whole lot till your senior year in high school.
I think I probably logged maybe 5 innings up until my senior year, and they were all like come off shortstop, throw 1 batter, and that was it.
So do you ever take BP anymore? You ever go take some ground balls?
I wish, though. I wish.
Yeah. Yeah, so you don't pitch a whole lot. You're a shortstop there in high school, right?
Yes, sir.
What got you to Middle Tennessee State?
So I went originally as a 2-way. They recruited me. Obviously, they'd seen me play shortstop, and then they had showed up to one of the games where I randomly went in the game to throw a one-hitter, and at that time I was throwing probably 88, 90, maybe that. And they told me they wanted me to do both.
Yeah. So your first year there, it's the COVID year, right?
Yeah, it was the COVID year, but we still played.
How many games did you play? About 19 or 20 or something like there?
No, we ended up playing. We did it in a weird way. We did 4 games on the weekend instead of having a midweek and 3. We just did 4 games every weekend, and I want to say we got close to 50 games in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So do you kind of feel like that period there was the period where you really got comfortable pitching?
Yeah, that was like the first time I'd been allowed to, you're only pitching, and you need to see where you go with it. And there's a lot of room to grow and a lot of time to do it too, because although the schedule was a little bit weird, having 4 games on the weekend offered a chance to throw once or twice every weekend and get some work in.
You had a 6-inning performance against UTSA in the Conference USA tournament. Then you had a 5 2/3 innings no-hitter against UAB. Tell us about those experiences. Those had to be cool.
The one against UAB, I remember that game because the only reason I came out of the game, my fingernail actually had ripped off. And so towards the end of it, I wasn't even throwing with my index finger anymore. And I remember coming out of that game like, oh, that could have been a game I could have went really deep and see how long we could have kept the no-hitter around. But the UTSA game in the conference tournament, we had a talk on the bus with the team, and everybody was just trying to do their part, and I was happy I was able to do my part that day.
The numbers didn't just jump off the charts as far as the ERA and that kind of stuff at Middle Tennessee, but the TrackMan data did. Mm-hmm. So with the limited amount of experience you had, with the type of stats you had, at the level that you're pitching at, did you expect to get drafted? Take us through that process.
I had always gone into college thinking I was going to get drafted. Like, baseball's always been plan A for me, and so it was never really out of my mind of getting drafted. And I knew that the biggest thing that everyone needed to see was just the potential part of it. I'm still in kind of my infancy of pitching, so especially in college, there was a lot of learning that needed to be done. And really in college, I was just trying to put out there like, hey, I'm trying to learn. Like, here's what I got right now. I'm willing to grow. I'm willing to do what I need to do to get better at this. And yeah, hopefully that's happened.
So you do get drafted 4th round 2023. And since then, really, I mean, until the last half of this last season, you haven't really been able to get your wheels underneath you because you've had injuries. You had the oblique, you had the shoulder injury, you had arm injuries. So take us through those injuries and where you're at right now.
Yeah, so the oblique thing was to start the year. It was really, really off-putting because it was after my first outing. It was a good outing. I was excited to get going and woke up the next day and was just so stiff I couldn't do anything and figured out it was the oblique, so that took some time. And once we got that figured out, I think really the only problem I had with the shoulder was I was so excited to come back from the oblique thing that I just rushed into things a little bit too hard, and it was completely on me because they wanted me to take my time, and I was like, man, I can't miss any more time. Like, I want to throw. And so towards the end of the year, we got all that figured out. You know, it was finally just getting in the routine of throwing every week and being out there and just letting my body adapt to it again. And by the end of the year, I felt great.
Yeah, so the 96 to 98 mile-an-hour fastball coming out. Are you at 6'6"?
6'6", 6'7", with shoes on, at least 6'7".
Yeah, slider, changeup, sweeper, maybe a cutter, right? Is that your mix? Take us through your mix.
Yeah, so I brought a ball.
Oh, nice. Yes.
I have the four seam. Obviously, it's just the fastball, the only fastball I throw.
Nice. So across the horseshoe?
Yeah, and then I have the cutter / slider are kind of the same thing. I have this, which is that one that you see that's like anywhere from 88 to 92, which is the cutter.
Oh, yeah.
Just a gyro slider. And then I have the sweeper, which is the swing and miss, the low 80s pitch.
Oh, nice.
And then the changeup, that one came a long way this year. I'd always been comfortable with it.
So you circle the back of the horseshoe, not you don't go around the horseshoe.
I got this grip from a video of Max Scherzer. Probably the video is probably 6 years old, but I picked it up my last year of college, and it felt comfortable, and it just never changed.
So what pitches did you have in college?
In college, I had four seam and two seam, and then I had the sweeper, and every week everything changed, so I was just out there throwing. So
I'm sure they immediately went to work. So talk about the adjustments you've made since you've entered the system.
So obviously getting in, every Dodger throws really hard. It's somehow every one of us can throw really hard. But so that was never like the big focus because I kind of had the velo, and it wasn't something that, I was forcing too much. It's just something that I had. So with them, a lot of it was like dialing in how can we get to be consistent and just pound the zone. And that's what we've worked on for the last year and a half. And at the end of the year, I took some strides with it, and I was feeling really good, and I'm happy that's what we're working on.
Yeah, and that's what the lower levels of the minor leagues are for, is to develop the best version of yourself. So we know you have the big fastball, but as far as your secondaries, it's one thing to light up the track man like you can do, but what pitches do you feel like right now are refined enough to where you can throw a strike with them anytime you want?
That cutter / smaller slider, that was a huge pitch. That was the first pitch we added when I got into the organization, and the one that I probably tinker with that one the most, but that's the one I like in a game. If 3-0, anything other than a fastball, I'll probably throw that.
So just kind of watching you pitch and seeing some of your video back at Middle Tennessee State and seeing you pitch now, I could be wrong here, but it just looks like literally the first time you tried to throw a sweeper, it was like natural to you. Would that be correct? And if so, why?
I picked this up from a guy when I played in the Cape Cod League in college.
Gotta have a name.
His name's Michael Walsh.
Okay, nice.
He plays for the he's with the Pirates.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would play catch with him, and he would throw it to me, and I was like, man, that is just one of the coolest pitches. At that time, it was new to me. I'd never seen it. And he kind of taught me how to throw it, and then when I went back to school, it was a pitch that I really wanted to add. And then to start the year, I wasn't throwing it just because at the time it didn't really match up with my fastball and what I was trying to do. And then towards the end of the year, we decided like I needed a bigger swing and miss pitch. and we were trying the curveball for a while, and the curveball was up and down, and I was like, well, I can throw a sweeper. Like, that's one pitch that, for some reason, when I grab it, it just is natural for me to throw it.
Yeah. So you have the gyro slider, which is basically sideways movement. You have a sweeper, which has sideways movement and some depth, and then and then you have also a curveball.
Yeah.
That, I mean, from a 6'7" frame, I mean, it's got to feel like it's dropping out of the sky and just raining threes to the hitter, right? So
yeah,
the curveball, I know that's a pitch that's in progress for you. Is that something you're working really hard on the off season? Talk about that.
Yeah, just looking at how my fastball plays and how I'm able to use velo at the top of the zone to get guys to jump a little earlier. One of the things I think a curveball would help with is, I could just dump it in first pitch or dump it in late in the count, and it never looks like a strike because it's coming out so high. And really, it's not a pitch that I'm looking like instant swing and miss, so it's the best curveball. For me, I just want that thing to be up and down for a strike. I think if it's up and down for a strike, it plays off all my other stuff better and put me in a good spot.
So what's the best pitch you have that looks like a strike to a hitter and then breaks out of the zone and they never can lay off of it?
I would say probably the changeup. When the changeup is on, the changeup is a really fun pitch to throw.
Can you take us through your changeup grip again and kind of show us how you pronate through that pitch?
Yeah, so I hold it like this, my ring finger on the seam and my thumb underneath the seam here, and then literally all the other fingers are just sitting on top.
Wow.
They don't have any pressure, and there's a video of Pedro Martinez talking about you throw a changeup with your ring finger. It's a ring finger fastball, so that's all I think is just ring finger fastball. I don't think too much about getting here. I know if I throw a fastball as hard as I can with my ring finger, my hand will be there, and I'll get that fade that I want.
So you don't try to smash it back into your hand like some people try to do. You just literally try to throw with your ring finger, huh?
Yeah, I said this in a previous interview. I throw it as hard as I probably try to throw the changeup as hard, if not harder, than my fastball. I know the harder I throw it, the better I will end up in a position to get the break that I need.
What'd you say your top velo has been in 103?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like knowing there's a 104 out there? Does that motivate you?
I mean, I'm looking to grab it anytime soon. I would love to get up there with that. That'd be a great weapon to have. If I could just throw 104 whenever I wanted to.
Oh, especially, of course, I don't know, anymore in the minor leagues, it's hard to tell. I mean, starter, reliever, or what the lines are so blurred. So are you more of like a bulk inning guy, or are you more of like a 1 or 2 inning guy, would you see yourself?
For me, I think I know it's a little weird because I throw really hard. The command has always been a question, but it's something that obviously I'm trying to work on. I see myself as a bulk inning guy, They have kept me in the starter role, and I love being a starter, and it makes no difference to me if I go out there and throw 6, or if they need me to go throw 2, I'll do whatever, but I think I could go out there and get us deep into games.
And you mentioned the control part of things. Of course, it's like with every young power pitcher in the minor leagues. Mm-hmm. Don't look at the walk numbers. Don't look at, because, I mean, they're trying to, like you mentioned, you're working on this pitch, you're working on that pitch, and then you have issues to begin with. So, I mean, it's all a matter of process of trying to figure out who you are. So how do you deal with the control part of the control piece as far as getting the ball in the zone? Is it just something that's part of the process, or is it something you actually work on?
It's a little bit of both. I think for the most part, it's a lot of the process of just getting comfortable and being able to trust your stuff. I don't think every guy, I don't think there's really any guy in the league that could go out there and throw the ball exactly where they want. But I know that they're confident, and every pitch that they're throwing is with conviction. And if you have those two things, most likely it's going to end up where in the general area you want it to. And I think there's little stuff you can do and catch play and all that, but I think a lot of it is just being able to trust what you have and trust that all the work you put in during the week for that one start is going to pay off, and that, nothing's going to change as soon as you get out there.
So have you ever tried to hit 102, 103 mile an hour fastball?
No, and I'm glad I don't. I'm hands down so glad I don't have to hit.
So
you see the arms nowadays, and I don't want to hit against those.
Having said that, when you're pumping it in 101, 102, 103, do you have to remind yourself of just how hard it is for a hitter to hit that, and you don't have to be too perfect?
That's a lot of the process while you're out there, is just realizing, like, what they do is really, really hard. I can't make it harder on myself. You know, those guys, if they succeed 3 out of 10 times, that's Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'll lay my hat on winning 7 of those and just take the odds that they're going to get out.
Yeah. So the constant battle for a guy like you, who's 6'6", 6'7", that has a blistering fastball, a fastball above 100. Have you ever had that moment or two where you got beat by like a slider or a curveball and it was like 86 and you're like, dude, I can throw it 102. Why the hell am I throwing this off-speed pitch right now? You ever had that moment?
Yeah, but it actually tends to happen the other way.
Oh, really?
It happens the other way more often. I gave up. There was probably a 3-week stretch where I was giving up 3-4 broken bat singles a game. And I was like, man, I watch guys go out there and they're throwing 89, 90 and it's not getting hit. And I'm like, I throw 100 and you act like it was the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you had that moment yet to where you threw a pitch and you went, no human being can hit that, and they did, and you're like, wow, these guys are really good?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I had an experience in the fall league. I was facing Kemp Alderman, and I threw him a fastball 100 up and in, and he turned on it, and I sat on the mound, and I was like, how did he even hit it? So
what pitches do you tunnel? Like, of course, you have a fastball that comes out, and you like to ride that to the top of the zone. Surely you have something that plays off of that. So talk about the different pitches that you tunnel together.
Okay, so for me, the biggest one that I think is the cutter / small slider. That's my end zone breaker. So that one I use a lot off of it, and all I'm trying to do is if the 4 seam's coming here, I'm just trying to ride it right underneath it. I'm not looking for this much separation, just this much.
Yes.
And I think the smaller the separation. And that's where, again, like having the curveball will come into play because then I can get the big separation.
Yeah.
I think that'll be, at least what I did this year, is the easiest way for me to do it is just tunnel those 2 pitches together and then use everything else for strikeouts.
If you talk about the smaller slider, that's the bridge between the big breakers and then the straight fastball, right? That's kind of the compromise to get movement but also get in the zone too.
Without that bridge, I think it's a lot easier to hit. You can throw giant curveballs and have a crazy fastball, but if the separation is this big, I feel like sometimes it's easier to read that.
Agreed. So is it hard for you to convince yourself that you need to throw this pitch to contact? We're trying to actually get the hitter to hit it. I mean, is that hard for you to kind of convince yourself of?
For me, when I'm pitching, I can't tell you if that's ever even been a thought in my head. Whatever they call, I'm just trying to throw it to wherever I think they'll miss it. And like, especially when it comes to like fastballs, I'm never throwing something like, maybe he'll roll this over. For me, I'm trying to knock the catcher over and get a swing and miss. And if it's weak contact, I'll take it.
As far as your own game planning and your own sequencing, how much do you take control of that and how much do you let your coaches and catchers do?
I'll take advice from anybody who's got it. If they think something will work and I can justify in my head why I think it'll work, I'll try it, Yeah. I have my own game plans, obviously, when I'm going out there, and we talk about it before the game, but we all are pretty on the same page, and especially like being this year with Trunky and Coin, like they know me as a pitcher and they know what's going to work for me. And so anytime they want me to try something, hands down, I'll do it right here, right now. And if it works, I'll do it again.
So how do you use all the technology, the TrackMan, the Rapsodos? How does that, do you dive into it pretty heavily, or is it a balance, or how do you use all that?
Yeah, so I'm pretty analytical minded. So when it comes to that stuff, I have the certain things that I'm looking for in my bullpen sessions and, after a game, just to see where things were at, because I know that I can give myself the best shot when certain things are in certain places.
So you mentioned bullpens. You use all the technology and you're reading probably vertical break, horizontal break to move your grips over to see what you need to do for whatever, right, to maximize the efficiency of your pitches. But that's during a bullpen. So game day, when you're actually trying to get professional hitters out, does any of that come into play, or is it just about competing and getting outs?
Game day is just go out there and compete and do exactly what you were sent out there to do, and that's just give your guys a chance. Yeah, if pitching's already difficult, and if you're out there thinking like, I don't think that moved right, or if, I got to try this. Trying new things in a game is probably the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to game day, whatever you have that day is whatever you have that day. You just got to get guys out.
Yeah. So do you golf?
I do. I just recently got into golf.
Yeah. So how far can you hit your driver?
My farthest carry so far is like 330-ish.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It was in Arizona though, so the desert air is a little different.
Yeah. So have you ever had to hit over water?
Yeah, actually the course I played the other day, yeah.
Yeah. So was it like intimidating where you're like, oh crap, did it change anything about how you hit the ball?
No, I just took the same mindset that I would in baseball. Like, if I think about the water, I'll end up in the water. If you go into it thinking about what's in front of you, then I think it probably takes away everything that you can do, especially the things that you're good at. So for me, like I go into at-bats and I know there's certain things that I can throw to certain guys or, he does better against this or that. But, I mean, for the most part, I'm still trying to use my game plan and just adjust off of them. I don't want to go into it with a different plan that might not be me. And because I feel like if I go out there with a plan that I'm not super comfortable with and I'm not used to doing it, I'm already a foot behind.
Yeah.
And so I go in there with the same expectation of like, all right, I'm going to throw everything I can for strikes. And if I do that, things should probably work out.
So I'm sure you didn't call your own pitches in college, right?
No, we didn't.
So what kind of an adjustment was that like for you? Now you and your catchers pretty much have control over that. Now you get suggestions from Coyne and Tronky, obviously, but you guys are for the most part in control of your game plans and your pitch sequencing and all the pitch calling. So what kind of transition was that like for you?
I really enjoyed it, especially getting to talk to the catchers, and they have a close view of the hitter. They're looking at their feet, they're looking at where they are in the box, and so a lot of it is just trusting those guys. You can sit there and trust your coach all day who's calling it from the dugout, but he can only see so much and he can only be a part of what's going on so much. So I really enjoyed it when it became my responsibility, my catcher's responsibility, because now I feel like we can work together and we can change it on a fly if we need to.
Yeah. So you have Jesus Calise, he gets called up. You have Nelson Quiros, he gets called up. You have all these different Jorge Puerta. I mean, you had all of these different guys. I think you had like 6 or 7 guys probably that caught at some point last year. And you're trying to game plan with these guys, and it's seemingly somebody different every time that you pitch. What is that like? Is that difficult to do? And then some of them don't even speak English probably, right?
Yeah, some of them, it can be difficult, but I think if you go into it with a little bit of an open mind, it's like, it doesn't really matter who's catching it back there as long as we just communicate however we can. Even if they don't speak English, we got plenty of guys that speak both, and we can communicate like, hey, next time let's do this, or hey, let's do that. But sometimes it is in your mind like, oh man, I haven't thrown to this guy in 3 weeks and now he's back there again. But they know how to do their job. They're professionals. Like, you just got to trust that they're going to do what they can and worry about what I can do.
I got to know the one moment with Tronky. There has to be one where he gave you a bit of advice and like you did it and it worked and you're like, damn, this dude knows what he's talking about. Did you have that situation ever?
A lot of it with Trunky, we talked about just being as consistent as we can. And so there was a time towards the end of the year when things started to look up in a better spot for me where I was like, you know what, I'm going to take his advice. I'm going to be as consistent as possible with everything that I do. So my routine, every day when I get to the field, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm not going to work on anything new. I'm just going to sit here and do the same thing over and over. And I think I went out and it was the week I double dipped against Visalia, and it was that first outing. And I got done and I was like, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about. As long as you can be consistent, it'll work out. So
had you ever been to California before?
No, that was a big difference, big change.
Yeah. So did you have that eureka moment where you're kind of standing around maybe in the dugout or on the mound and you look at the mountains and you're like, man, I'm actually a professional pitcher in the middle of California doing this thing?
It was the first day that we drove out. It was the day or a couple days before the season started. We were driving to our houses and our apartments and whatever. And our apartment sat underneath a ginormous mountain. And I was driving up and I was like, wow, this is completely different from what I know.
No doubt. So your off season, tell us where you're at, what your routine is. What are you working on the most?
So right now I'm down here in Weston, Florida. It's about 30 minutes below Fort Lauderdale. And right now it's just me, myself, and I doing all of it. You know, I go to the gym by myself and get my work in, and I go find a batting cage to throw in. And right now it's just about, you know, it's early in the off season, so just getting back into things and making sure the body feels good. So right now I'm just focused on what I'm doing in the gym and all the arm care and exercises that I can do to make sure that when we do start ramping up, that it's a smooth ramp up and there's no hiccups.
Okay, so I need to know what you think right now that you're doing consistently enough to where if you did get the call to the major leagues, what are you doing consistently enough, well enough to be a consistent major leaguer? What things need to work on the most?
For me, I think just the most consistent thing that I need to work on that will take me to that level is just being in the zone. I saw in the fall league a huge change in numbers, a huge change in the results when I was in the zone a lot. And it's obviously like, you know, no one goes out there trying to throw balls, but finding the actual way to do it has been a process. And I'm taking that same kind of approach as I did in the fall league as I am right now, where I'm going through my work and, you know, I'm not too worried about what it's looking like coming out of my hand or anything right now. I'm just worried about, you know, can I repeat this consistent motion that feels good and that I know works?
All right, some fun, lighter questions. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so first year there at Middle Tennessee State, Blue Raiders, all right?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, let's start with this. What the heck is a Blue Raider?
I couldn't even tell you because our mascot is a Pegasus, so I have no idea what a Blue Raider is.
So that first year you're there as COVID, you said you guys figured out a way to play games. Mm-hmm. What's the craziest thing you can remember about your baseball situation during COVID? I want to say it was early January, and, you know, college season, it starts fast. So you have like 3-4 weeks before, when you come back from break, before you start the season. And it was a day that we needed to practice, and our field that got snowed on and iced over. It snowed for like 3 days straight. And our coach had us go out there, and we were out there from, I want to say, probably 10 in the morning to 6, 7 at night, shoveling ice off the field all day long. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, did you win the game afterwards?
That was like 2 weeks before games started.
Okay.
But when we got done with that, you know, I don't even think we practiced that day because it took so long for us to do it. So we showed up the next day and we were like, he owes us one for that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Okay, one more time, take us through the grips of all your pitches. That was really cool.
So, four seam is right here, just C to the left. I don't know if that, some guys.
Yeah, I got you.
Last year I held it like this, and I switched to this year.
Nice.
And then we have.
So what advantage is that giving you?
For me, I cut the ball, and so if I hold the seams, so this is how I hold it now. If I hold the seams this way, for some reason I just cut it way more, and my fastball becomes not anywhere close to where it needs to be.
Okay.
And we found that this way just changes that just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we got the gyro slider / cutter. And nice. We have the sweeper.
Nice.
Curveball.
So do you put pressure on that middle finger whenever you're trying to get depth on it?
I've tried playing with pressure and, like, you know, manually thinking about it the whole time. I just spiral when I do that. I feel like it's just too much to think about. So for me, I'm trying to let the grip change everything, you know. Nice. I know I can't throw, I could throw a fastball like this, but I wouldn't. So I'm just letting my body, like, you know what, this is a curveball. This is what you would have to do.
Yeah.
And just try to let it figure itself out.
So for young kids out there, show us the movement that keeps it away from their elbow.
Where the issue arises is if a guy tries to throw a curveball, I do it sometimes too. You can't throw pitches from all the way back here.
Yeah.
You know, everything happens at the very last second. So fastball intent as long as you can. And I'd rather the curveball be worse and you throwing it with the correct intent and the correct form than a guy go out there and be like, hey, Mom, watch, I can throw a curveball. And he's just doing it the complete wrong way and getting set up to fail.
So what's the coolest thing about being a professional baseball player, specifically in an organization as cool as the Dodgers?
For one, it was my childhood dream. I wanted to play baseball professionally since I was 3 years old. So now that I'm here, obviously there's still steps to go, but it feels like you can check a little bit off of that list of like, you know what, like I'm still chasing the dream. I'm still in the position to do it. So it feels awesome to do. With the Dodgers I noticed this in the fall league, and Matt could tell you the same thing, and the guys that were there, everybody thinks the Dodgers are the coolest. Everybody, especially pitchers, like they love the Dodgers. Everything we do, they wish, all the guys we talk to, like they wish they could be a Dodger because we do this, or how do we do that? And so, it kind of feels like, we're in professional baseball, but we're also in like a little bit of a different tier because we're with a really good organization.
So talk about Shu, your manager, how awesome he is for that level of baseball.
Shu's the man. He's a character. He's Shu is Shu, and nobody else can do what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. So one day he's coaching first, right? The next day he's coaching third.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So last question here before we get out of here. I've taken a lot of your time, Eriq. This has been wonderful. First time I've ever had a chance to talk to you. Been wanting to talk to you for a while, so thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Last question here. Okay. Have you ever seen your manager, John Shoemaker, out of uniform?
One time. One time. I feel like I'm a rare person to be able to say this because no one else has. But I went up to the field one day during the All-Star break. My parents had come out, and so I wanted to show them the field and show them the stadium, everything. And I got there at the same time as Shu. So I was able to see him go in street clothes. And obviously once he got inside, he changed. So it lasted probably a couple minutes. But I was blown away to see him in something other than baseball pants.
I lied. I got to know what your go-to is. I know in Tennessee there is no In-N-Out, so I got to know what you're probably not supposed to eat fast food, but I won't tell anybody. What's your go-to at In-N-Out?
At In-N-Out, is it the double-double?
Okay.
The double-double, yeah.
The double. You rock the double-double, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an intro song whenever you come onto the mound, like when you first take the mound?
I did this year, and I probably heard it once.
Oh, really?
This year it was Kickstart My Heart by Molly Crew.
We got a game plan for next year yet?
For song-wise or for...
Yeah. For song-wise?
I think we'll let it be a surprise.
Okay, nice, nice. Eriq Swan, this has been a great joy to get to talk to you. What a wonderful career you have ahead of yourself. Obviously, an incredible head on your shoulders and even more talent than that. So, Eriq Swan, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I appreciate it.